So someone asked me to do a tutorial on a corset top with puff sleeves, so in this video I will be doing just that. I already have a tutorial on a corset top without sleeves, so if you haven't watched that, feel free to go and watch that. I will link it above and below. Also, if you do decide to follow this tutorial and make this corset top, please feel free to share it with me on Instagram. I would love to see it. Also, if you want to follow me on Instagram, please. I have 1 follower so far, so...
Alright, so for this project I am using this medium heavyweight non-stretch fabric which I have left over from my chair upholstery project, and for the sleeves I am using some leftover IKEA curtains. Start by cutting out the pattern pieces for the bodice. The same pattern is used for both the front and back, where the front is cut on fold and the back is 2 individual pieces. You will also need to cut out a lining layer. I am just using the same fabric for lining, but you can choose something else if you please. Another difference between the back and front pattern piece is that you will fold up the curved part of the pattern piece when cutting out the back piece. The guide on how to make the pattern for the corset top and the sleeves will be shown towards the end of the video, but first I will take you through the construction. Here are all the fabric pieces cut out: the main fabric and lining back pieces, and the main fabric and lining front pieces. Next, attach the back pieces to the front piece for both the main fabric and the lining by putting the pieces right sides together and sewing down the side seam and shoulder seam.
Wow. So that went smooth for like 2 seconds.
After doing this, put the lining and main fabric pieces right sides together and sew along the outer edges, except the bottom edge. I then clipped into the curved edges, cutting as close to the stitch as possible before turning the bodice inside out. After turning the bodice inside out, I zigzagged the 2 layers together at the armhole curve just to make it easier for me to insert the sleeves and to minimize any fraying. Next, it was time to mark the boning channels, so I folded the corset in half to find the middle and then just measured out where I wanted my boning channels. But once I had done this, I realized I didn't really like the placement. So I opted for a different method where I used masking tape, which, if cut in half, was the perfect width for my zip ties. I then used the tape to mark where I wanted the boning channels, and this was a pretty nice method because the tape could be removed and put on differently until I liked the look. I then top stitched the main fabric and lining together right next to the tape to create the boning channels. Now it's time for some sleeve pattern manipulation. I cut my sleeve pattern down the middle until I reached the upper arm line, then I cut across to the edge of the pattern, cutting as close to the edge as possible without cutting all the way through. I then spread and moved the curved pieces upwards until there was 3 inches between them and the upper arm line. Then I traced around the sleeve pattern and cut it out, and this is how I created the puff sleeve pattern. Next, I cut out 2 sleeve pieces using the puff sleeve pattern. Then, using a long straight stitch, I sewed along the edge of the sleeve head, starting about 2 to 3 inches in. This stitch is used to gather the sleeves, which is what makes them puffy, so it's important not to backstitch. Once you reach the other side of the sleeve head, you turn around and go back, creating a stitch right next to the stitch you already made. Once that is done, sew the side seams of the sleeves right sides together. After that, you can gather the sleeves down until they match the size of the armhole curve in your bodice by pulling the threads from your long stitches. Then, with your sleeves turned wrong side out, insert the bodice with the right side out into the sleeve. Match the armhole curves together and sew around it to attach the sleeves. The good thing about puff sleeves is that you can adjust the gathers as you go around to make sure the sleeves fit perfectly. After this, the sleeves are attached and you can go ahead and hem the sleeves at the wrist. The next step is to insert the boning, and I am using zip ties and have cut them out so that they are about 1 inch shorter than the boning channel they are inserted into. I have also rounded the edges to prevent them from poking out through the fabric. After inserting the zip ties, measure the bottom of the corset and cut out a strip of fabric that has the length of the bottom of your corset plus 1 inch and a width of 2 inches. Lay your strip of fabric right sides together with the bottom of the corset and sew along the edge. The sides edges of the strip are turned inwards to create a nice finish. Once the strip is sewn in place, fold the strip 2 times so that it encapsulates the raw edge of the bodice and has a nice edge when folded to the wrong side of the bodice, and then top stitch it down. In case that explanation doesn't make sense, look up how to attach bias binding, and I'm sure that will help you out. The last step is to add the grommets, and I marked my desired placement of the grommets with a pen, and they were about 1 inch apart. Then I used 2 different tools to secure the grommets, and I have no idea what they're called, so I just try to show you how they look here. The first one is used to punch a hole through the fabric, and the next tool is used to flatten the grommet to secure it to the fabric. After the grommets are installed, all there's left to do is run some kind of ribbon or lacing through the grommets so that the corset can be closed in back. This I apparently wasn't very skilled at. And there you have it, one corset top with puff sleeves. I thank you for watching and I hope you have a nice day. If you decide to make this, please consider sharing the final result with me on Instagram. And if you found this video helpful, please consider liking it and subscribing to my channel. And I will see you in my next video. Bye! Alright, so in this part of the video I will be showing you how to draft the bodice part of the corset. For the sleeve pattern I actually ended up making a PDF with a guide on how to draft the sleeve pattern, which you can find in the description. To make the pattern, draw a line that has the length of your shoulder to waist measurement. Then mark a line from the shoulder equal to half your arm skew measurement, and a line from the shoulder equal to the length of your shoulder to bust measurement. 4 inches below the bust line, draw another line. You can adjust this line to your liking. Then mark half your shoulder width on the shoulder and arm skew line. Connect the markings and mark the 2 lines as shown here. At a 45-degree angle, make a line of 1 inch and another at 3 inches. Also mark a point 1 inch above the arm skew line. Then draw a curve that connects all points. Mark the arm skew and bust line with 1/4 of your bust measurement and then draw the armhole curve. Mark 1/4 of your waist measurement on the waistline and connect it to the bust line. From the line between the bust and waist, draw a curved line that meets the waist at the middle. The same pattern is used for the front and back, but I folded in the curved edge when making my back pieces.